Alright. He gave us a photograph of Mr. Vigil, and that should be used to obtain that woman's husband, because he went missing.
He's a warden.
Yeah. The first thing I am going to do is go here, since he's still there, and see if I have to present him that. No. Just because he's still standing around.
What about the newspaper article?
You want to dye your hair red, Lord Strongheart? Well, I don't have the time to do that. I snap my finger in your direction. Okay. We probably just don't have what we need yet. Or maybe he just stands there until the end. Who knows? Okay. Barclay Prison is on the outskirts of London, backing onto a lonely burial ground. Its 4 high outer walls loomed quietly before us in the fog. Having requested a meeting, we were shown to the governor's office in the watchtower.
Guillotine?
Yep.
You know who I think built that?
Marie Antoinette?
No. Enoch.
Oh. Well, you know, it's funny, because he has all that gears on his face anyway.
Yeah. Who did?
Oh my god, this guy's huge. This place is full of hardened criminals. I cannae remember the last time a civilian was doon here. And you didn't want to talk to an inmate, but to me?
Sappuccino.
You ken who I am. I'm the governor, Barry Caden. He's sweating. Oh, yes, it's a pleasure. I'm Rinosuke Naruhodo, defense lawyer. And an Easterner, I see. Does that mean? Yes, I'm a visiting student of law from the Empire of Japan. Japan? Did you say Japan? Yes? Well, there's no any of your kind in here, laddie. Maybe you should try the prison next door, eh? I didn't notice another prison next door, sir.
It means the graveyard.
Anyway, we came to ask you some questions about... I didn't like to be so direct, but I've no intention of speaking with the likes of you suspicion-looking Easterners.
Alrighty.
Now get out of my hair. So as soon as he finds out that we're from Japan, he reacts like this. That surely means... I think it's because of the professor case. You think so too? 10 years ago, Genshin Asogi, also known as the Professor, was incarcerated at this prison. And then after his execution, he apparently re-emerged from his grave in the cemetery behind the prison. I might have known. You're sniffing around about that case, aren't you? Your agents, eh? Part of the Professor's great web, no doubt. No, not at all. We're just... Get gone with ya, before I punch your lights out. We're going. Clearly the ghost of that killer still haunts this place. We're not going to get anywhere here, unless we can somehow prove to this man that there's nothing suspicious about us. Governor Caden. What are you thinking, Miss Susato? I feel sure that name came up in conversation recently somewhere.
Yes.
I was wondering if whoever mentioned him might have some ideas to help us.
Show him the picture of the one that's missing.
I'm thinking I had the same feeling. Let's do that. Governor Caden, could I at least show you this? No, we got nothing. We gotta prove there's nothing suspicious about us first. How many times can one man turn his back on you in a single conversation? So let's talk to him then. That's Professor Mikotoba over there. Oh, hello you two. I was just taking a moment to catch up in the world now that I'm unpacked. But where's the judge? Yes, he's not the relaxing sort. It's Jigoki, I think? Jigoku. He's taking himself off to pay his respects to all the legal bigwigs. Having only just arrived in the country today, goodness, he is full of energy. Professor, you mentioned something before about how you known the prison governor at Barclay Prison. Oh, Governor Caden, you mean? So it is the same man. Father, we must speak with the governor. But he refused to talk to us. He said we were suspicious Easterners. Well, I'm sure if I accompanied you, it would be a very different story. Oh, would you? That would be wonderful if you have time now. Sadly, as you can see, I'm very busy at the moment. Busy drinking coffee on a comfortable settee? Now, I have rather a lot to prepare for tomorrow, you know. Oh, sorry. I didn't say that out loud, did I? You Mikotobas are alarmingly good at reading people's thoughts. Or could it be that you Naruhodos are alarmingly bad at hiding your thoughts? Let's not fall out now, I have an idea. What's he writing on that piece of paper? Here's a letter of introduction for you. Hopefully when he sees my name, he'll change his tune. Ah, thank you. The letter of introduction has been entered. Interesting that he trusts Mikotoba, this Easterner, but not us. Good luck, then.
He could have just said she was the daughter of Mikotoba.
Yeah, but I think the fact that you have something written, like if she just said, I'm the daughter, I don't know if that would go anywhere. If you just cast your eyes over this, Governor Caden. What's this, then? You cannot pull the wool over my eyes, you good-for-nothing Japanese student. Mikotoba. That young jock from the forensics laboratory. That Mikotoba. Yes, exactly. Him. Oh dear, perhaps I should have said something sooner. I'm Yujin Mikotoba's daughter, Susato. Jings, you're the young man's daughter? And you didn't think to mention that afore? I do apologize. Aye, well, you'd best take a seat then. Can I offer you a cup of tea, perhaps? And didn't forget to try one of these wee handcuffed biscuits. Your father's influence is nothing short of amazing. I'm bitterly regretting not announcing who I was from the outset now. Ha! Looks like you were right, hon. She's like, why didn't I listen to Adrian? So then, what can I do for you, hen? Well, we're currently investigating a case. It's one of your warders, you see. He's gone missing. Missing? That's right, it's surely been reported to you as well, being the prison governor. I haven't heard nothing of the sort. There's no missing persons in my prison. Oh? But how can that be? It's Mr. Daily Vigil, your chief warder. Vigil? That's right. His wife came to us and asked us to investigate his disappearance. Let's skip the part about him only going missing yesterday for now. Clearly that means something to him. Would you be so kind as to tell us what you know, sir? Aye, of course. Chief Warder. We understand that Mr. Vigil is the chief warder here at the prison. Aye, that he was. Strong sense of responsibility and dedicated to the job, no doubt about it. He was a fine warder. Yeah, chief warder.
Why is he talking about him past tense? He didn't even know that he was missing.
Sorry, did you just say was? We need to stop declaring our observations. I always feel like when we do, the next line is like...
Well, I didn't know if it was going to be a clue that he was talking to him about past tense. Because he should say he's a good warder. He's a good employee.
Let's see. Aye, he doesn't work here no more. He left the job. Ah! Oh my. I'm gonna give this game credit. They seem very deliberate when they do stuff like that. Like, it's not just like bad translation or an oversight. When was this exactly? There's a question. When was it approved? Can I be much less than 10 years ago now. What? 10 years ago? He stopped working here 10 years ago?
When the professor was killed.
Yeah. Aye, as I minded. Do you know, Ken, I have ne'er heard the fellow's name in all that time. That's a worry if he's gone missing, though. But Mrs. Vigil made no mention of it. I think perhaps, Mr. Naruhodo, that his wife simply doesn't know. I think she's unaware that he no longer works here. Governor Caden, can you tell us what happened? Why did Mr. Vigil give up his job here? That's important, is it? Yes, I believe it may be. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? I can't help wondering, given that it was 10 years ago. Which was exactly when the professor was being held at this prison. So Mr. Vigil actually resigned from the position of chief warder 10 years ago, you're telling us. What happened to make him leave the job? I honestly thought he was going to say it couldn't have been more than like 2 days ago. But in actual fact, he didn't leave the job willingly. He had no choice in the matter. You mean he was dismissed? It was after a particular walk. Sorry, a walk? Aye, that's our word for it in here, a walk to the gallows. An execution. It's the job of the chief warder to prepare the gallows tree and oversee any executions, you see. Only Vigil did something unthinkable on that last walk he was manning. What did he do? I'm sorry, but I cannot reveal that information. But I can tell you that it's very rare for a chief warder to be relieved of his post. But why wouldn't Mrs. Vigil know about it? She appears to be under the impression that her husband still works here. I wouldn't make Ken anything about that, I'm afraid. Can you perhaps answer one more question about the circumstances of his dismissal? And what would that be, Hen? That last execution that Mr. Vigil was responsible for overseeing, was that, by any chance, the professor's? My thoughts exactly. I'm sorry, I really am, but I'm at no liberty to answer that. I see. My father came to Britain all those years ago in order to study forensic medicine. But you seem to have been well acquainted. The dead room, the prison, and the cemetery have a lot to do with one another. After all, they need fresh corpses for forensic research. Do you ken? Yes, I can imagine. The advancement of medical science isn't always particularly palatable. Your father worked in the laboratory just on the far side of the graveyard, in the basement of St. Sinners. It's still in use today. St. Sinners? That's come up before, I'm sure. Yes, that's right. We've been there. Once again, reading thoughts. Mikotoba and I used to ride in a carriage together and negotiate terms. For more fresh material, I suppose. Aye, and we used to sit in the course and gab on about dissection and all sorts. Ouch, it takes me back. Or ouch. Over a pot of tea and a plate of cuffed biscuits, of course. How charming. He was a good fellow, your father. Reliable, and dead set on his work. But I'm afraid I'll never understand you Japanese. Because of Genshin Isogi, I suppose. Well, can I tell you anything else? Thank you so much for your time, Governor. Oh, one moment before you're away, and I'm sure I have it here somewhere. Ah, found it. Here, take this as a wee souvenir of your visit to the prison. What is it? That's Vigil's dismissal notice. It's 10 years old now, of course. Oh my, are you sure? Aye, it's no trouble at all. It's no the original mind. The harsh reprimand incurred by Mr. Vigil 10 years ago that resulted in him losing his job as chief warder of Farthgate Prison. Thank you very much, Governor Caden. Well, in return, do me a favor and never come back here. That case is closed. Well, I think we ought to return to Baker Street for the time being. Yes, I agree. We need to report back to Mr. Sholmes with what we found out about Mr. Vigil. What will we tell Mrs. Vigil, I wonder? I want to examine that damn thing, though. Ah, look, we have an opportunity here now, while the governor is away. Mr. Naruhodo, you could be in prison if you were caught. That's a good point. Perhaps not, then. Okay. But we were just looking at it.
Is he still a redhead?
Let's see. We're back! Hello, you two. I thought you'd be back before long, so I baked some skillings for us all. Ah, so that's what the delicious... Oh my god! Greetings, my dear fellows. You've returned a good deal sooner than I was anticipating. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Say nothing, your thoughts are written all over your faces in any case. It turns out that it may have been advisable to test my hair color restoration tonic before application. Oh my. Pray, tell me, what of our warder friend? Have you garnered some new information? Oh, yeah, something very surprising, in fact, though it's not a patch on your hair, to be honest. It most certainly isn't, but still, we discovered that Sholmes! Drop everything, Sholmes. This is more important. Gina? I can't Adam and Eve it. What's happened? Clearly a very grave matter indeed. For Miss Lestrade made no mention of my hair whatsoever. It's the boss. What do you mean, Inspector Gregson? The boss is... He's dead. What? What? They just found his body. Shot with a pistol. What? But... Inspector Gregson? He was murdered? No, not Gregsy. Come in, my dear girl. Tell us the whole story. Okay, I thought the more important thing was going to be something stupid.
No, because see how she's shaking?
Well, see, I thought it was just going to be like, oh, those two redheaded guys, they got away, or some like, you know what I mean? I was really starting to like Gregson. That last case...
Well, Gregson's name is one of the names on that list.
Yeah, but like he stuck up for us, and he was being real funny with Sholmes.
And he knew what the Baskerville's collar was when they found it in Shanspeare's room, and they immediately took it away.
Wow, that was a surprise. Aw, poor Gina. Are you serious, Gina? Inspector Gregson was... He was really shot. I don't know much about what happened myself yet. They're still there, investigating the scene. Where did this take place? And here I also thought it was going to be the murder of her husband that we were looking at.
Maybe we are, too.
Yeah, I don't even know. Where did this take place? So this is the fourth case. I guess Sholmes, Gina, and Iris are all going to die next case? I mean, I didn't think Gregson was going to die. A little rented room in a building full of flats on Fresno Street, the outskirts of town, nowhere near his home. He was perhaps investigating a case then. The thing is, no one at the yard knows nothing about no case around there. Oh, how strange. The boss he was so good to me. I know I ain't up to much yet, but one day I was gonna show him I'd become a proper detective. Oh, Ginny. Oh, I feel so bad for her. So, who did this? Do you have any idea who the culprit is? They got him already. Already? They've caught the shooter so soon. A witness reported something was going on, and the boys got straight down there and took care of him. Well, what awful person did this? I still can't believe it myself. Gina? It was the Reaper.
Like
Von Zieks? But wait a minute, you don't mean they've arrested Lord Von Zieks for it? Oh my god, wait, we're gonna get a new prosecutor. That's right, the Reaper bloke's gone and shot the boss.
But we know that he's not the real Reaper.
Yeah, he's not the real Reaper. And I'm sure he didn't shoot him.
He would rather send his own friend to jail than to have him killed. That's why he was prosecuting him.
Yeah, so we know he's not the Reaper, but I mean, I wouldn't think he actually shot him. But then again, I didn't think Gregson was going to be shot. Like, this is all coming... Dang. This case just got crazy. I thought it was crazy enough the guy's been gone for 10 years from that job. You quite sure, Miss Lestrade? It's Baroque Von Zieks that the police have arrested. I saw him with my own eyes in the interview room at the yard. I don't believe it. But there were witnesses, and they're all saying it was him. So you mean there were actually multiple witnesses? They heard the gunshot, apparently, and when our lot got to the scene, there was only the boss and the Reaper bloke in the room.
They probably went to go meet with somebody, and they shot Gregson.
There's no way Lord Von Zieks would have taken Gregson's life. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it either. I love her. I feel so bad for Gina, though. Thank you for informing us, Miss Lestrade. You know, this is a pretty serious scene, but I'm cracking up over his damn blue hair while this is all going on. This really is most terrible news. I'm dreadfully sorry. She's right. I mean, I'd say she's right, that was more important, but watch Mr. Vigil just be the key to everything of all the questions we have. Oh, and speaking of which... Well, not speaking of which necessarily, but... Chief Warder Daily Vigil is relieved of his post with immediate effect for having violated Clause 132 of Her Majesty's Code of Conduct for Prisons. All rights to redundancy pay and all other financial benefits are fully revoked. Reason for dismissal: aiding and abetting the escape from this prison of convict blank just prior to his execution. Really? Details of this escape are still being investigated. Full cooperation with inquiries will be expected. Prison Governor Barry Caden. Additional notes: indications are that the jailbreak plot was conceived prior to the convict's incarceration. It's believed that the convict engaged in some form of negotiation with prison staff in order to secure assistance. Full disclosure of information regarding these negotiations will be demanded. What are you saying for? You didn't do nothing. Or what are you saying sorry for? Well, anyway, I'm taking a cab over to the scene right now. Please come and all as soon as you can. You gotta help. You know, it's kind of sad, too. The entire last game, she was all like, I don't trust adults, you can't trust them. And now she's sad because she wanted to prove herself to him.
He's the only one that gave her a chance. Like...
Yeah. It's a detective's lot to appear wherever some sinister plot had unfolded. Little wonder we all look haggard. Sometimes these things are almost too much for the nerves. Mr. Sholmes. What use is there in being a great detective if I fail to see something like this coming, How could I let this happen to Gregson? Gregson? Mr. Naruhodo, I shall leave at once to begin my investigations. Of course, yes, we will too. It would be helpful if you could talk to the Reaper and see what you can glean. I'm sure you were intending to do so anyway. Until later, then. Inspector Gregson dead, and Lord Von Zieks arrested. Bruno, Susie, I've called you a handsome. It's waiting outside. Thanks, Iris. Shall we, Miss Usato? Yes. Prison, Fresno Street room. Well, he said get some information from Von Zieks.
Oh my.
There he is, Lord Von Zieks behind bars. So it's true, he really was arrested. He's sitting with his back to the wall, reading something. I don't think he's noticed us. Lord Von Zieks. Fancy meeting you here. The last place on Earth I'd like to be. The last person on Earth I'd like to see. Wow!
He's probably going to represent himself tomorrow, or at least try.
Well, he's going to want to, but I have a feeling we're not going to let him. I couldn't very well not come. We heard what happened. That Inspector Gregson was... Go home. This has nothing to do with you. But... Forgive me, Lord Von Zieks, but I must disagree. Inspector Gregson was very helpful to us on a number of occasions. We're indebted to him. At the very least, we owe it to him to find out the truth about his death. You must help us with our investigations, please. There's really nothing I can tell you. What were you just reading at the back of the cell there? Was it something related to the case? This? The Yard isn't quite so cavalier with this information as to share case details with the suspect. That is, a letter from an old acquaintance. Oh, who might that be? Someone you know, as it happens. Albert Harebrain. Of course, yes, I keep forgetting they went to the same university. And I would like to read my correspondence in peace, so let's get this over with, shall we? What is it you want to know? Strange. I mean, let's face it, Lord Von Zieks never mentions his words. But they seem to have less bite than usual somehow. Remember when we had to represent Edgeworth?
Yeah.
I remember he comes in, he sees you, he gets a mad face, and then he fades out the minute he sees you. Alright, what happened? Can you at least tell us your side of the story, Lord Von Zieks? What happened? How much do you already know? We know that the inspector was shot dead in a small rented room on Fresno Street, and that you were found there by the police when they arrived on the scene and immediately arrested. We were told that there was nobody else in the room and that some witnesses heard the gunshot. Then you're well informed, and there's really nothing I can add. The truth is, I don't know what happened myself. But the gunshot, obviously you didn't fire the gun, did you? I'm not in the habit of shooting the people I work alongside. I also heard the noise. However, before I had a chance to investigate, I was apprehended by the arriving officers. So he doesn't actually know what happened. If I might ask, what were you doing in that place to begin with? I don't need to answer that. Oh. After all, you're not representing me. He is going to need a lawyer, though. I thought it was the cat. Just gonna go investigate the noise. I thought it was honestly just a cat, so I don't entirely know what the noise is. But she's checking on it, so I don't want to go any further until she gets back, obviously.
I don't know.
I mean, I heard something, but it sounded like one of the cats to me.
I don't know. At some point we have to think about this.
Okay. Your defense. Let's go to the Harebrained letter first. After the trial, Professor Harebrained was supposed to go straight back to Germany, I thought. It's a letter to inform me of his safe arrival at home. I arranged his passage by sea and rail. It's a relief, I must say. He should now be beyond the reaches of the Reaper. Because the Reaper doesn't follow people abroad, you mean? Yes, so it seems. Your stupid little Nipponese friend, for example. You told me he was keeping well in Japan when I inquired the other day. Yes, that's right, he's an author now, happily working in Tokyo. So Professor Harebrained is safely back in Germany now. He is. Who is going to be representing you in court, Lord Von Zieks? Anyone other than you, I should imagine. Ha! Would I be right in assuming that you have no representation as yet? Defense lawyers shy away from any trial involving the Reaper, as I'm sure you know. But this is different. In my case, of all the defendants I've prosecuted, only 19 have ever been acquitted. Of them, 16 subsequently died in mysterious circumstances. Questions will be asked now. Surely not. I assure you, no defense lawyer will want to touch me with the end of a barge pole. But you didn't actually have anything to do with those people's deaths, did you? It's been 10 years now that I've been known as the Reaper of the Bailey. Believe me, nobody wants to know the true identity of this killer more than I. However, it seems things may come to a head before I have the chance to uncover the truth about that. What does he mean by that? So, it appears our conversation has run dry. There was a 2-second silence, that's all. Well, in any event, if you'll excuse me now, I wouldn't like to detain you. I was wondering, Lord Von Zieks, if you'd like, I'd be happy to advocate for you. You trust me, do you? Yes. I've heard you speak many times in court. I've seen how you treat people. So I'm quite sure that you would never have taken another's life. It's just my feelings can't be used as evidence in a court of law, sadly. It's a very gracious offer. However, I trust no one.
Oh.
Man, what? Not the police, not the judiciary, and not you Nipponese. But oh, you trust me because you showed me the professor's identity and all. I mean, you don't do that to everybody. But please, I have no intention of engaging your services. The chasm between us is just too wide and too deep, it seems. I'd appreciate it if you don't visit again. Then neither of us will waste any more time.
Interesting.
Perhaps we need to dig a little deeper and find out more about Lord Von Zieks and what happened to Inspector Gregson.
So now we go to the scene.
Yeah. God, how crazy. I mean, it's true though. You saw in the last case of the first game, I mean, he was grilling Gregson and clearly had no love for Scotland Yard and all that. So he does not really trust people, but poor Gregson.
Where's his body?
The chalk. This really is an out-of-the-way part of London. I doubt many people find their way down this back street. So this dust-ridden rented old room is where it happened, then. So this is where poor Inspector Gregson lost his life. Yes, and the police are already hard at work investigating, it seems. I don't see Mr. Sholmes anywhere, though. Perhaps those investigations have taken him elsewhere. Oi, what do you think you're doing there? Every one of them drawers has got to be taken right out so you can look underneath and all. I want the space above the ceiling checked. And don't forget to look inside the chimney stack too. Blimey, ain't you lot never gone over an house looking for dough when the owners are out of town? Gina's obviously got some unique investigative techniques she wants everyone to adopt. Oh, so you've turned up at last. Mind you, I ain't been here long myself. Hello again, Gina. Sholmes has only just left. You're lucky I missed that. He wasn't prancing around in here pointing at stuff and flicking that at, and is-an, and then just scarpered. Oh, he's finished investigating already, you mean? Yeah, he didn't stop to say nothing to no one, not even me. Gina, would you mind if we investigated too? Listen, Odo, you're a lawyer, right? Yes, why? Well, you're not thinking of trying to help that Reaper bloke, are ya? Oh, poor Gina. She's never going to forget, is she? That trial will haunt her forever.
That's right, she doesn't like him. Anyway.
Yeah, and then McGill... But here's the thing, like, the Reaper... Like, there's clearly an actual Reaper who's doing this, or at least most of it. But with McGilded, it was that guy.
Ashley,
and, yeah.
But he paid somebody off, and he even said, I pay half the wages at Scotland Yard.
Yeah. So he had connections, but, like, that was him, and... I don't know. Gina, if you don't mind me saying, if Lord Von Zieks really is responsible for this crime, he will be duly and fairly judged in court. I suppose you're right, yeah. Go on then, Odo, get investigating. I want to know the truth about what really happened here. Thank you, Gina.
It looks like someone's got a board of, like, suspects or something over there.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. This looks like some sort of notice board or something. And it's absolutely covered in scraps of paper. Ah, Mr. Naruto, look. This, you mean? It's an autopsy report, isn't it? And these are case notes here, and details of prison inmates. Yes, in fact, they're all the sort of documents that only a detective could normally acquire. What on earth went on in this room? Some old newspaper cuttings. Ah, and this one here. Oh yes, the advertisement, you mean, to the Red-Headed League. But why? What's that doing here? Whoever occupied this room was clearly interested in it for some reason. Oh, it's a photograph stand. I suppose it must be a picture of one of Inspector Gregson's family members. Ah. What's the matter? Your eyes look like they're about to pop out of your head. They are. Look, Mr. Naruhodo, quickly. What? Why do I feel like this woman is familiar somehow?
It's Evie Vigil.
Of course she's familiar. We met her only this morning. Ah, it's Mrs. Vigil. This makes no sense. Why would there be a picture of Mrs. Vigil in here? To be frank, I don't think I've ever been more stumped. I'm sorry to say, I have no idea either. Okay. Well, she said check the chimney stack. An empty fireplace makes a room feel even colder than it would otherwise, doesn't it? It's thick with dust, look. I think it would be fair to say it hasn't been used in a very long time. In other words, whoever lived in this room must have been extremely hardy in cold weather. Or nobody lived here at all and merely visited when the occasion arose. I wouldn't like to say which is more likely. No, that's right, it's one or the other. Excuse me? Oh, Inspector. Oh, sir. Poor man, he can't possibly be able to focus on investigating when he's so upset. Excuse me? Sorry, sir, can't see a thing, sir. Too many tears, sir. Right, perhaps I better leave you to your work then.
Oh, there's a red wig.
There's a red wig, yeah. So I suppose this is where the victim... That's right. The rope is laid around the body to show exactly how it was found. Poor Inspector Gregson himself has already been taken away, and would probably be under Dr. Sight's scalpel by now if not for what happened last week. From the shape of the rope, it would appear that the inspector was curled up in a ball. Are you feeling alright, Mr. Naruhodo? You look like you've seen a ghost. I know it's just a rope, but well, it conjures up quite a terrifying image, that's all. Especially with that bloodstain next to it. Oh, I do understand. In some ways, what we picture in our minds can even be worse than reality. Susada-san is so strong, though. She's taking this far better than I am. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna click on everything. Oh, what's this? It would appear to be a little model policeman. It's rather charming, isn't it? In a way. Seeing as it's on the floor here, do you think it belonged to Inspector Gregson? It's a little hard to imagine Lord Von Zeke's playing with something like this. It's only about 8 centimeters tall. Could have fallen out of someone's pocket, I suppose. I think we should record this evidence just in case. Yes, I agree. It is rather delightful after all, in a way. The policeman appears to be a little worse for wear. I'm not convinced about the charming part, but yes, you're right. The head part looks like it's been fairly heavily manhandled, almost as if somebody has enjoyed twisting it around and around for fun. Shall we try twisting it around and around too, for fun? Ah, what's that? It appears to be some sort of key. But it's tiny, though. It couldn't be a key for a door, not at that size. So what is it for, I wonder? This looks like some sort of key. Yes, it does. A very tiny and simple key. What's a little key doing inside a figurine of a policeman in the first place? And what's it for? Ever since we came in here, I can't take my eyes off this thing. Well, funnily enough, neither can I. It's a hairpiece, isn't it? It is. It is! A bright red hairpiece. I suppose the fact that it's right there and next to where the body was found means we have to accept that Inspector Gregson wore wigs, does it? And in such a flame-colored red, too. Yes, that's a color we've come across very recently elsewhere, isn't it? Exactly. This is a vital clue. I'm sure of it. This is presumably the murder weapon, then. Oh my, it is real, I suppose. I think so. Guns are so rare in Japan, I really know very little about them. There's one way to know for sure, Mr. Naruhodo. Fire a shot. No. If I did that, I'd be looking for a skilled lawyer to represent me in court. Slightly safer just to ask someone who might know, I think. Doesn't mean we can't investigate it, but let's see how sad he is. If you're looking down on us from the great beyond, Inspector, don't worry. We'll look after things at the yard. I've interrupted some deep thoughts here. Got some holes in here. Somebody very haphazardly nailed those boards over the broken glass, haven't they? You couldn't really call it a window anymore. Well, if you remember the window in Mr. Natsumi's room, that was totally blocked up with bricks. This one does at least still let in some light. You could say nothing more about it. So you could say nothing more about it. I'm starting to feel even more sorry for Mr. Natsumi now. Let's see. Candlesticks. Candles. The top of one of the candles in this candle holder has been completely blown off. Yes, there's wax splattered on the wall behind, look. I suppose if a bullet had hit it, it does seem like the bullet hit the candle, having first passed through the inspector's body. Ugh. Now that wax on the wall looks like blood to me. Let's talk to her.
Try that door. You let the door in and out?
Yeah, I think so. Whoops. Alright. Gina, what was Inspector Gregson doing here in the first place? That's what I want to know. It's what? Half a year since I got out of the clink? That's when I decided to give up me diving and become a detective instead. Let me finish this tea. Oh yes, Mr. Sholmes twisted the inspector's arm to agree to take you as an apprentice, didn't he? Something like that, I think. Anyway, the point is, I didn't really know much about the boss till then. But it turns out, he's a bit of a legend at the Yard. Goodness, really? They say he managed to solve some really tricky case, just like that. He did? Yep, and ever since then he started going out on all sorts of investigations, but always on his own. No one else at the Yard even knows what half the cases he's working on are, apparently. That's not how it's supposed to work, is it? So what was the legendary inspector doing in a dingy little room like this? I know he had a lot of respect for the Reaper and all. And look where that landed him. Respect for the Reaper? In what way? I heard him say as much. I take my hat off to that fella, were his words. Not how the general public feels, is it? Most people are terrified of the Reaper. Yeah, the boss said that's exactly why he respected the bloke. I didn't realize Gregson held the Reaper in such high regard. He said something else to me and all. That I didn't need to worry about the Reaper, because he only goes after people what are bad. It did kind of set my mind at ease when he said that. Right. What is this place, then? Does anyone live here? Apparently it's being rented by some cove called Hugh Boone. Hugh Boone. It's a sort of here today, gone tomorrow name, that, isn't it? Yeah, he's what we call an unidentified person. We haven't been able to get in touch with him. I see. Well, judging from appearances, I'd have to say this place hasn't been lived in for a long time, if ever. Right? One of the lads from the Yard piled down to get stuck into the investigation, but there's so little here, no one knew what to do with themselves. I do wonder. Yes, Mrs. Sato? Well, could it be that this Hugh Boone is in fact Inspector Gregson himself? What? How could that be? What if he was investigating on his own? It's quite possible that this was in fact some kind of secret office of his. I never even considered that. Nice work, Suze. We're actually following a line of inquiry like that ourselves. You are? If you look around the room, you'll see there's a few things that hint at it. We should really investigate this place in detail. Oh yeah, because there's the notice board. I see that's where the poor inspector was found over there. Yeah, that's right. They said it was a single bullet what did him in. Apparently the bullet went right through him and struck that candle tree on the wall. Oh yes, it's blown off of one of the candles apart completely. And the gun used is there on the floor. It's the Reaper's, isn't it? No denying that. What? Really? How do you know that? Take it easy. I don't know what to do with myself when you stare at me with them big wide eyes. I'm only saying what I've heard. I don't know much about guns myself. But there's some big-wig lawman or whatever who said so. Why don't you ask him? A big-wig lawman, is it? Anyway, Fresno Street runs along under that window there. There's some street sellers just outside who heard the gunshot. Oh, but I don't recall seeing anybody outside. Yeah, they've all been taken down the Yard for questioning, that's why. We're talking about the Yard's legendary inspector here, after all. They'll be getting a grillin'. Do you think we might be able to speak with those street sellers ourselves? I doubt it. The lads at the Yard will just want to know what you're snooping for, and you'll be up for a grillin' and all. So we can't interview the witnesses then. Shame. Let's see if there's anything of note to present. Does you know anything about this? Gina, what do you make of this? What is that? Evidence? Worked something out about what happened, have you? Oh, no, not exactly. I ain't been long enough in the job to get all this deducting business yet, but I swear I'm gonna get the person what did this to the boss. I wonder if she's gonna say this to all the evidence, though. Well, she talked to us about the candle thing. Does she know about the gun? Well, no, because she told me to ask the big lawman for the gun. Which, is she talking about that guy at the prison?
The governor?
Because he's big and he's a lawman. I forgot if I showed her the red hairpiece. Oh, I didn't even really look at the red hairpiece. Let me do that.
You didn't really look at the gun either.
Yeah, so let's do that. I've always wondered what the underside of a hairpiece looks like. That doesn't surprise me at all, Mr. Neverhodo. You always want to see what lies beneath, don't you? I'm not sure that's quite how I'd put it. You must have to use lots of bird lime to keep it in place on your head, so it doesn't get blown off in a gust of wind, I mean. That might be a little inconvenient when you wanted to take it off again, don't you think? I suppose this must have been the murder weapon. Oh my. It is real, I suppose? I think so. Guns are so rare in Japan. I really know very little about them. Perhaps someone more familiar with firearms could shed a light on things here.
Don't we want to know what it's loaded with?
I checked. I couldn't see anything.
He said never to come back.
Yeah. So I'm back. Let's see. Red-headed League? Well, maybe I can show her this. Yeah. Oh, that business? Yep. Inspector Lestrade here soon had that one buttoned up. I thought it was Mr. Sholmes who led that pair into a trap, wasn't it? Listen, Odo. It ain't easy going from East End diver to Scotland Yard detective, right? But anyway, it's all part of the charm, isn't it? Being a bit loose with the truth when it helps. That's wrong for so many reasons. Maybe. I should get Iris to write stories about me, the adventures of Inspector Lestrade. Know anything about this dismissal notice, Gina?
I think we might have to move somewhere else.
You may be
We've
right.
exhausted everything in that room.
I feel like we haven't finished with her, but... Okay, we can't do anything here.
Well, oh, they won't let you present to him?
Nope.
Oh.
Stop yawning.
Nothing here either?
Nope.
Interesting.
Did he leave? You've made good time. I took an express train back to London. I can hear Lord Strongheart, can you? Yes, it sounds as though he's talking to someone.
What's that?
Is that Kazuma? Is everything in place? I had a private compartment on the train so I could check all the paperwork. It's Kazuma-sama. Ah, your timing is impeccable. It is? No doubt you have heard the sickening news about the Reaper's latest devilry? Yes. I'm sure you don't believe it, of course, though, Lord Strongheart. That Lord Von Zieks could have done such a thing to Inspector Gregson. I believe only in the facts, and the facts in this case point to one thing. The unavoidable accusal of Lord Von Zieks for this crime. We must bring charges against the Reaper for taking the life of our legendary detective. Oh no, surely not. It is a truly regrettable situation. Tomorrow the Forensic Science Symposium finally begins. At the very least, though, we can show the world our justice system's swift and equitable processes. So does that mean the trial is tomorrow? Precisely. In fact, this is a fine opportunity for introductions. Kazuma.
Is he prosecuting?
That's what I was thinking. But of course, you're already acquainted, aren't you? Why is he so angry? Mr. Asogi here will be present at tomorrow's proceedings. Leading the prosecution. Once again, we need to stop observing things. I think this game reads our mind. What? Kazuma? As I'm sure you are aware, he's a very capable practitioner of law. Kazuma-sama, prosecutor? Jeez, let's see if we can just talk to him. I'm sorry for all the worry I've caused you, but it'll be alright now. Has your memory completely returned? Yes, completely. I remember everything, including what I was coming here to do. Right. Kazuma-sama, I can't tell you how happy I am to see you alive and well like this. But how did you come to be here in London when you were suffering from amnesia? It was the voice. This past year, I've been hearing it in my head constantly, saying the same thing over and over. Go to London, that's where your destiny awaits. It was that voice that guided me here to London. I'm so sorry for what's happened. Anyway, my memory might have returned to me, but there's something that won't return to the way it was before. Huh? What do you mean? I'm a prosecutor now, so I'm sure our paths will cross again very soon. Oh, he's the big lawman. I'm sure you can imagine that tomorrow's trial will be closely followed all over London. In fact, no, people all over the Empire will be watching closely to see how it unfolds. There's no salvation for anyone in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper of the Bailey, and now, the Reaper himself must stand in the dock. Quite so. The public wants answers about the Reaper. Answers about how and why those who escape conviction subsequently die mysterious deaths. But Lord Von Zieks firmly denies any involvement in such matters. And there have been thorough investigations that have proven him to be innocent. That's certainly true. Or it has been, at least until now. Ah. No, tomorrow's trial will mark the start of a new chapter in our country's great judicial history. So, Kazuma will be prosecuting tomorrow. That's right. But he's a defense lawyer, Lord Strongheart. Accomplished young law practitioners cannot pick and choose their roles. And imagine what it would mean for the prosecution to know those strategies commonly employed by the defense. A devastating combination, wouldn't you agree? Absolutely. I have no doubt at all that Kazuma will be razor sharp as a prosecutor. But why Kazuma-sama? There are surely many other highly skilled prosecutors in Great Britain. It was a personal request. I asked to be assigned to the trial. You asked for this, but why? It'll all become clear tomorrow. I'm guessing you intend to stand for the defense, don't you? Although the Reaper appears to be turning down all offers of representation.
Is this kind of horrible because Kazuma's father killed Von Zeke's brother.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's accused of killing Gregson, but now he's going to prosecute
Yeah.
Von Zeke.
That seems like it should be a conflict.
That is a conflict of interest.
Yeah. I'm surprised that your personal request would have been upheld. It seems unprecedented, quite exceptional, in fact. You are quite right, Miss Mikotoba. Tomorrow's trial will be unprecedented and exceptional in every way. Ah. After all, the accused is one of Britain's greatest prosecutors, the pride of the Empire. It would be unwise to give the public a reason to perceive it as a judiciary closing ranks. So that's why you're happy to let a foreigner handle the prosecution? Ryunosuke, let's see how your skills have been honed after practicing law in this land for so many months. Kazuma, I don't understand why you're being so hostile to me now. This isn't going to end well, my friend. Yeah, he's so... I mean, look at him! Look at his pose!
Maybe he's brainwashed or something.
But he apologized for all the worry he caused? I don't know. Oh yes, we noticed that there was a gun at the scene of Inspector Gregson's death. Do you know if it belongs to Lord Von Zeke's? That would be a question for the lead detective investigating the scene. Well, the thing is, she wasn't sure, so she told me I should ask somebody higher up who might know. That's right, Mr. Naruhodo, be direct. It's certainly a model that's issued to all personnel involved in law enforcement, yes, which includes prosecutors, as I'm sure you can imagine. In that case, it could actually have belonged to the victim. No, Gregson had his gun on his person. What about Lord Von Zeke's? He claims it's currently not in his possession. What? According to his story, he lost it. In short, it's more than a little suspicious. But just because the gun in question is the same type as the defendant's is no proof it's actually his. No, of course not. Nevertheless, the situation is grave for Lord Von Zeke's. Doesn't look like we're going to glean much more here. Well, thank you very much, Lord Strongheart. Remember, tomorrow's trial will go down in our Empire's history. There's much you can learn from the public gallery. Wonder what the jury's going to be like. Sorry I've taken so much of your time. We'll see ourselves out.
Hold it!
Before you go, Ryunosuke. Or was it, Ryunosuke? No, whatever. Oh, what is it, Kazuma? I just wanted to thank you. Kazuma-sama, what? You took my determination to heart and brought it with you over the ocean in my stead. And you carried out my role to perfection. You always were intent on studying British law in order to change our own justice system. It was your dream, and Mr. Naruhodo didn't want that to die with you. Yes, but I have another purpose for coming here. Oh? I actually have a favor to ask. Again? Which is? This trial I'll be prosecuting tomorrow. I'd like you to be there to see how it ends. Right in front of me, as the defense counsel. Why? What's this all about? I know you have what it takes. But Lord Von Zeeks would never put his fate in my hands. On the contrary, he recognizes your talent. He does? It's not easy to see behind the facade sometimes. Here, have a look at this. Oh, didn't we see this, last game? This picture? That's Lord Von Zeeks and Inspector Gregson. And a photograph that must have been taken some time ago by the look of it. And who's the third person?
Must be his brother.
It was displayed very prominently in the detective's office. In Gregson's office, you mean? Yes, what I'm trying to say is if you really think you can trust the Reaper, you might find that some straight talking makes him take a different view. Take it. Well, now he seems a little more normal. I don't understand. Why are you giving me this? Just her, Ryunosuke. Visiting hours at the prison are almost over. What are you doing, Kazuma? So many questions. Lord Von Zieks is still reading that letter. Still? We've been gone quite some time, though. Either he's an incredibly slow reader, or it's an incredibly long letter. I might even be able to read English faster than he can. I was intending to ignore you entirely, but I can't turn a deaf ear to such an insulting Nipponese. Oh, sorry, I didn't think you'd hear that. I had the case notes brought to me in secret. I was reading them to pass the time. Yes, we hear that your trial is set for tomorrow, which is none of your business. So have you found a lawyer? How many times must I reiterate the same thing? This has nothing to do with you. In other words, no. We were just talking to Lord Strongheart, and the prosecutor for your trial has been decided. I'd expect nothing less, though I have no idea who it is. It's going to be Kazuma Asogi. Asogi? That made the color drain from his face. Ha. Well then. It seems I'm going to have to engage in conversation with you again after all. It's also interesting that two Japanese people are going to be the defense and prosecution for this very important case. "10 years ago, my older brother, who was the director of prosecutions at the time, was murdered, and the killer, as you know, was a visiting student from the Far East. Not a single day goes by when I don't curse the name Asogi. Genshin Asogi was Kazuma-sama's father. So what cruel twist of fate is this now, 10 years later? The man's son is to crucify me in some kangaroo court. I still don't understand why Lord Strongheart apprenticed Kazuma to you. It's what he does. No doubt he knew of the young man's true identity from the outset. But what could he have been hoping to achieve? But let's not forget that it was only 8 days ago that Kazuma recovered from amnesia. Why would Lord Strongheart assign this trial to somebody like that? Asogi. The name is the very epitome of my bane. The bane that is you Nipponese. Right, your hatred of all us Japanese. I'd only just been appointed as a prosecutor when it happened 10 years ago. My brother Clint, the director of prosecutions, was hunting down a mass murderer. The so-called professor, assigned to the investigation as his partner, was a certain visiting student dispatched from London Yard. And that was Genshin Asogi. Exactly. I developed a deep respect for the man. He seemed noble-minded and chivalrous in the extreme to me, but none of us saw the true nature of the man. So I lost everything when it happened. My esteemed brother, the people I believed in, and any semblance of right prevailing over wrong. How awful. To avenge my brother, I prosecuted in Asogi's trial. It wouldn't ordinarily have been allowed, but I beleaguered the ascribed prosecutor until he consented. What do you mean by the ascribed prosecutor? The man in charge of the professor case inquiry, Lord Mael Strongheart.
What?
Well, what? Lord Strongheart is a highly accomplished prosecutor, but he agreed to relinquish the trial to me and act as my advisor instead. Since that time, he's the one person to whom I felt indebted. I'm sure he must have seen your zeal for the case and recognized your potential as a prosecutor. Anyway, time passed, but then earlier this year, who should arrive in London but you? And of all things, as a lawyer. I felt your animosity the first time I ever faced you in the courtroom, your obvious deep loathing of us Japanese. I kept telling myself it was illogical. But for so many years that hatred had festered inside me, I could no longer control it. And I can understand why now I know your history. But in the same way that I've long felt the Nipponese to be the bane of my life, to Kazuma Asogi I am the bane of his, the reaper who sent his father to the gallows. He's looking for revenge, and he intends to take it in court tomorrow. Gregson's transferred to the Paris Police Prefecture had finally been arranged for the coming month, but he'll never make it to France now. It's a tragedy. Oh yes, come to think of it, he did mention something about that, didn't he? Oh yeah, he did! Now I remember.
Wasn't he supposed to already be in France?
I don't know if already, but I remember he told us that he'd be leaving. I wonder, does it happen often, being transferred internationally, I mean? It's the first time I've ever encountered it. Oh. The Paris police welcoming an English detective is almost inconceivable. I can't imagine what kind of magic Gregson must have worked to put that arrangement in place. It sounds like that mystery has even the Reaper perplexed. I'm afraid to say that we were very ignorant about Inspector Gregson's standing. We hear that he was considered something of a legend at Scotland Yard. Again, it was 10 years ago that he first made a name for himself by uncovering a decisive piece of evidence that exposed the professor's identity. If it wasn't for Gregson's singular approach to the case, the discovery would never have been made. What sort of approach? After my brother's life was taken, the inspector pushed for a full autopsy. Oh my, 10 years ago. Why is that so surprising? Autopsy was considered the desecration of the body at the time and rarely performed, and my brother was of course a noble. That made the idea of it even more unthinkable. But something Gregson had dug up in his investigations made him determined it was necessary. His powerful convictions somehow influenced the House of Lords, and as a result, I could avenge my brother's death. So you must have had great confidence in the inspector's ability then. And it's even more inconceivable that you would have taken his life. I don't have confidence in anyone. Oh. And I'm sure Gregson felt the same way. I've no doubt he thought of me only as the ominous Reaper, just like the rest of London. What really went on between Lord Von Zieks and Gregson, I wondered. What was the true nature of their relationship? About the gun used to shoot the inspector that was found at the scene. Ah, yes, that's not mine. Really? Because common opinion seems to be that it is. What do you expect me to say to that? Lord Strongheart informs us that you claim to have misplaced your firearm. As embarrassing as that is, I'm afraid it's true. When did you lose it, then? That, I don't know. Oh. I was issued with a revolver when I first became a prosecutor 10 years ago. I must have stowed it somewhere, I suppose. Or left it somewhere, perhaps. You have something in common with Lord Von Zieks after all, Mr. Naruhodo. A talent for misplacing things. No, that has nothing to do with me. Don't drag me into it. Don't make the mistake of associating me with this Nipponese. Oh dear, the rift is very wide, isn't it? So it's not decisive evidence clearly, but it doesn't look good, that's for sure. Alright, time to present. Yeah, the true nature. Gregson didn't look at him as just the Reaper. Lord Von Zieks, we came by this old photograph. Where did you get that? It was taken when I became a qualified prosecutor. It's almost unbelievable. I assumed it was long lost. Is the man on the left there? Yes, that's my brother, Clint. And look, he's smiling. It had to be, really. Apparently this picture was prominently displayed in Gregson's office. He had a deep respect for you, you know. Were you aware of that? Respect? That's nonsense. No, we've heard someone attest to it very clearly. Inspector Gina Lestrade, no less. Well, maybe once, yes. There was a time things were like that. We were brothers in arms, jovially discussing the future of justice and other such lofty subject matter. There was a nice glimpse of the past. That was a nice glimpse of the past, I thank you. I feel as though I got a nice glimpse of the past then, too. There was a glimmer of light in his eyes, a brief twinkle, an insight into the true nature of this man known to all as the Stone-Cold Reaper of the Bailey. Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, that's the first time he's ever used my actual name. I've lost all confidence in my country's justice system. I don't trust the police, the judiciary, or lawyers. But there's still one thing I'm willing to believe in. What's that? that which you see in the eyes of another across the courtroom, a simple determination to know the truth. Lord Von Zieks. From the very first time we clashed in the Bailey almost a year ago now, I couldn't deny it even though I dearly wished I could. Here is a loathsome Nipponese who has absolute integrity as a lawyer. There are only 2 other men I've known with that same look in their eyes. My brother Clint and Genshin Asogi. The man he idolized and the man who betrayed his trust in the most hideous way. When you showed me that photograph just now, it reminded me. I mean, this photograph. Back then I was able to laugh. I was free of the shackles of mistrust that plague me now. I looked to the future with hope. Since then I've protected myself against betrayal by refusing to trust anyone. But at times the mire into which I've sunk makes it almost impossible to breathe. I'm so sorry. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I want to believe in that look in your eyes. I need to believe in it. In tomorrow's trial, will you advocate for me? Of course I will. It would be an honor. I'm so pleased, Mr. Naruhodo, that my life is in your hands. For Lord Von Zieks, that must have been an incredibly hard thing to ask, which is why I simply cannot let the man down. Tomorrow in the Old Bailey against my old friend Kazuma. Can I just place a little reminder here? This is the 4th case. It's not the last one.
Oh, no.
So, the last case, the last case should just be like case 4 of the last game. Just some weird maid lady pouring tea on her husband, and very simple. Break time, and then I want to see what the heck's going to happen at the beginning of this. I must.
I'm drinking.
Oh, just...
Ichabod needs some medicine.
Oh, okay. Well, we can do that, and then we'll start the case.
Yeah. Hi, kitten.
Alright, we're going to give our cat some medication, and then we continue.
Hold him like a baby.
Alright. I'm sorry, Ichabod. We're just doing this because we want you to be good.
Because we love you. Come on.
Can't you, do this or something, and then he wants to?
Come on. Open. Good boy. Oh, he spit it out.
Oh.
Come on.
You almost got it, kitty. Oh, did he scratch you?
Yeah. He's trying to get it out of his mouth.
Uh-oh. He succeeded.
He bit it in two. Yesterday he took it really well.
I know. I mean, he did jump off, but...
Come on, baby.
Why does he want to spit it out so much?
Because it maybe tastes bad. Just get it down there.
But he hasn't even tasted it yet.
Come on. Open the mouth, kitty.
This cat is the sweetest cat, but he does not want to take the medication.
Oh, baby, please. You have to take it.
Because he didn't really scratch you. He just kind of flailed, and it was incidental.
I don't want to hurt him. Come on. Please.
And they make it sound so easy. Just give this to him every day.
I know. Kitty, I love you. Please take the medicine. Come on. Please take it. Please take the medicine, kitty. Come on. Dang.
Man, he's clenched shut, huh?
Kitty. Come on. Come here. Please?
It's okay, goodbye.
Please, baby?
It's okay.
Let me see. You see, kitty. Come on. Yesterday was so easy. Come on. Down the tinker. Come on. Please? I'll put it on your lips. That'll have to do for today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, kitty.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm glad you at least took some of it, boy. Oh. Man, he is looking like crazy.
Well,
It's actually kind of cute. Take a look. He's still doing it. I think you broke him.
Well, because I rubbed it on him. So
Yeah.
he has like no choice. Let him down so he can go get water if he wants.
Okay. Here you go, kitty. Poor cat. But I mean, we're doing, because he's already improved.
Yeah.
So it just kind of has to happen.
Well, he doesn't really want to eat the stuff that I sprinkle on there. He doesn't want to take the liquid medication, and now the pill one, I can't get down.
You know what I hate though? If you go on YouTube and you go like, how do I give cat this cream? How do I give him this? They make it look so easy. Like they have the most well-behaved cat in the history of cats on these YouTube videos.
You saw how he was clenching.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I don't.
But like every video makes it look easy, but if you read the comments, they're like, okay, so how do you do this when they're not that cooperative?
I'm guilty to even try to give him the liquid medication today because he thinks that we're trying to murder him.
But no, because you know what? He might be in here again and being all sweet, so who
I hope
knows.
so.
All right, ready to see what the heck's going to happen at the start of this trial?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad there's two of us, though. It's heck when it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no, it's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. Now, because of Susato, there is a menacing tension in the air today, isn't there, I suppose? Yes, I think so. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defense. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. Bruce. That's funny. However, you're certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details, however, I understand that no jury has been selected. A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. A closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Yes, hair's back. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. See, once again, you make an observation about the hair, he comes out with the hair. Crazy guy. To be perfectly honest, so much has happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ha! What to one man is a little hair problem? is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. She's gonna cry. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. And I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagement with a few trivial cases... See, there he is. I mean, he's walking out, but I mean, he was coming in. The Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you. What an honor, and that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes, oh, that was nice of him. After all, behind this lawyer there's a very great mind. My own. Oh, of course. What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Gina.
Come here.
What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Aww. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Odo? Oh, yes, Gina? Why do you agree to this, eh? Why do you agree to take him on? This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know that, yet. I don't care who calls him what, the Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. Eh? At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Please, Odo. Get whoever did this. For the boss. Oh, Gina. I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you've gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please. I thought we were gonna see, like, who the heck the jury is, but I guess no jury. Alright, then here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Von Zieks. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on these dark events. After whatever truth is revealed, and whatever truth is revealed, we're going to have to look it straight in the eye. Why, Sholmes? It's because we still want answers. No jury. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant Baroque Von Zieks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. And you know what's interesting too, is that Von Zieks is so dark and pale, and he has this white like he's a savior. Oh, Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long, it feels. but I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today we must uncover the truth behind the scourge. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder. The truth revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions throughout the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial with no members of the public present, by Her Majesty's direct orders. How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the jurors' bench shall remain vacant today. If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord? They are members of the judiciary, here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial. Members of the judiciary. Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already. There is of course another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings, on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes, and as I stand here in the courtroom now, I'm quite certain. This is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Kazuma? Very well, let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement, if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on the 1st of November at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago. The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot and all have reported the same time. Yes, as Regina told us too, there were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly. How has the range been determined? There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range. I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, counsel. The autopsy report has been entered into the court record. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. That's so sad to see. Maria Gori is the coroner. Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry, the bullet exited the body from behind. Additional observations: the caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for a member of the judiciary. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? No, my lord, not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama, for not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance cannot be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabrum mounted on the wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yes, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. But there is precious little furniture inside, and it is generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or other. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. So, the details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. A name, please, counsel. Naturally, the accused himself. What? Lord Von Zieks. As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very well, let the defendant take the witness stand. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Baroque Von Zieks, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume, Lord Von Zieks, that you heard Prosecutor Asogi's opening précis. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. Then I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away, namely why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question, and what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Von Zieks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come, but since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony, then, witness. Wasn't expecting him to take the stand this early. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that... Really? When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. That testimony was the whole truth. It was. So you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants, and moments later a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi. It would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word, it's laughable. What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. I'm very confused by why he's investigating him. You investigating the inspector? What on earth for? I'm not at liberty to say. Sorry? I identify a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene? No, I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Von Zieks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim. And yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man?
Hold it! Hold it!
Had you ever been to the address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. But at 5 p.m. the sun would only just have gone down. It would still have been reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed that the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a small desk in the room just here. Yes, I remember, and there was an oil lamp on it, as well as a framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. So, who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. Would you say it was very dark in there? Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another's presence. Aha, then could it be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room? No, that's out of the question. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. This is going from bad to worse. And you say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor? Correct, and I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Presumably, then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder. But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I, too, would dearly like to know that.
Hold it! Hold it!
A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot, and without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. But you're supposed to be the Reaper. The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion, and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction.
Hold it! Hold it!
What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and suddenly there it was. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first. Nothing more. I see. After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson. Whoops. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection!
Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Baroque von Zieks, is lying on multiple fronts. Wow, what is that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel. The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it has been blown up by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all three candles together, which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. That must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the other was still burning. Ah. That's right, when the candle was hit by the bullet it obviously went out, but the other two candles would still have been burning, so the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more. The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom with police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right, we saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they include a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? That is starting to sound familiar. And there is a common thread linking all the documents on that board. Indeed, what is the common thread, Counsel? They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Baruch von Zieks. All of them? And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good lord. Interestingly, none of these defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Ah. Oh no. In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout in his base of operations. The Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout? No one would believe that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, Counsel. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. What? I wonder, see, I've been under the impression we're going to find out who the Reaper is in the 5th case, but I wonder if we're going to find it out in this case.
Well, is it Gregson or is it Vigil?
Or is it nobody? Or, like, none of those. I don't know. Very well, I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Baruch von Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Osoga's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Cosimo's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build this prosecution case, and it's formidable. Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. And now the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Whoa. Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look. Oh yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. And the color. That's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. Do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene, too. Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League, then? Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony, too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshots and went running into the room. Very well, lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. Oh
Hey.
God, he's back?
It's Beppo.
Yeah. So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Names? We don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us.
What's his lips?
We're just free and easy. Sell what we like, live where we want to live. I give them all a vacant stare as they walk down Fresno and spin a few words into a verse for them. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street? Hee hee, everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passerbys, you know. Jaunty little tidbits. Got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right after your general it is. 6 pence is the price, not a penny less. Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now? Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested. Try the man. Give him the money and see what it is. Pay the man, counsel. Alright, 6 pence it is. You won't regret it, sir. Now, got your listening ears on? Just between us, a young couple on Slight Street have just had twins. He's selling rumors? Is that it? No, that's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? It wants to spread, but that bit's up to you and your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know. Want another juicy one? 6 pence a piece it is, if you're curious. I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Name that unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar. What about the next witness, then? What name do you go by and what do you sell? Me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, isn't it? I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids. 6 pence a pop. What do you say? You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell? Oh yeah, the second years cannot get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that if they get 100 they could blow up the school. Not the most savory of ideas, young lady. What do you say then, eh? Want to part with 6 pence for a pop? Wait, what? You want me to buy one? Tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you could blow up the whole courtroom. Try the woman. Give her the money and see if she's right. Pay the woman, counsel. Alright, I'll buy one. Lovely stuff. Right then, this is something a bit extra just for you. The Venus Special. Only 600 pence. 600? It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there? And there's nothing little, and there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey either. And the last witness. What name do you go by and what do you sell? I'm a thinker, bee. Think all sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am, therefore I think. Because I stand there on the street watching the world go on about me, they call me the Observator. Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you Sandwich and you know it. So you don't actually sell anything. A problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do, and think what it means. Have you had an idea, Mr. Neverhoda? You're staying at the end of the string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus Special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said it could blow up the whole... Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Neverhoda. It sounded almost exactly like... Oh... I don't actually sell anything now, come to think of it. Pity. No more purchases today, please. Well, we have quite a cast here, it seems. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see, and thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose. Not only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witness the crime. Well, I'll be beggared, I thought, just between us. Venus de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw. What I think is if all what we see is light and shadow playing with our eyes, is any of it real? Very well, the court will hear the formal testimony of these three witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident. We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went into the building. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang. It seems to me that quick to talk and quick to walk, Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened. I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body. I was scared half to death, me, so I ran off to find a copper. If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Baruch von Zieks. I've seen pictures of that Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folk love stories like this. I've made myself a tidy sum already. But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied. Of course they are. They're small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot. The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone. The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime. No.
Try to figure out who Hugh Boone is.
Yeah. Thank you for your candor, my lord. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses. Yes, my lord. In a closed court like this without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony somehow.
Hold it! Hold it!
When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord von Zieks? I suppose so. The likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I'll tell you one thing, it was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain. Just behind Inspector Gregson, did they arrive at the same time as each other? No, not at all. The first fellow must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before we heard that gunshot. The victim arrived 15 minutes before, are you sure about that? Am I sure? Does it seem likely that I've forgotten a fellow with bright red hair like that, does it?
Oh.
Yes, his hair really were red, weren't it? Redder than my flaming fireworks, even. That fiery red mop still burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is. Wait a minute, you're saying the man was a redhead? Weren't you listening, chum? Aye, he was a redhead. And he had a big trunk with him as well. But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red, not by any stretch of the imagination. It seems likely that the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. Now, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct. What? Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Yes, that's Inspector Gregson, all right. And a red hairpiece. Ah. Of course, we saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that?
Infiltrated the game.
Yeah. Oh, the color does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel. And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene. So it just disappeared. What, do you expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you? We definitely saw him in the dock going in, though. No question about that. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard the big bang. by which presumably you mean the gunshot. I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? But I've always thought it probably sounds a bit like this, doesn't it? And you said that you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here enter the building. That's right, it was almost straight away. Bang, it went, just like that. Well, he's the Reaper, isn't he? That's what the French call a fait accompli. When the Reaper's around, people are going in the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it? I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow the Inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There can be no clearer motive for the crime. Yes, it's certainly an eminently credible motive. Great. And at that point you ran inside, is that correct?
Hold it! Hold it!
So, when Gossip ran to see what had happened, did you go too? Well, me, I'm a bit hampered. See, all the signs are that I cannot move very well. You're way behind, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and that big sign in your hand. What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible you and I have met before? I'm not anybody, me. The signs are what make me who I am now. I signed, therefore I am. So you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago, then? I may be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot. Turn down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's Arms is just there. Oh dear, you've made him hide behind a sign. Life is full of surprises. I ran into the room and there he was, a Reaper gun in hand. So then, you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right? That I was. Kicked the door open like a professional I did and yelled out, "What's going on here?" Lord Von Zieks claims all he heard was a man scream, though. And was it dark inside the room? No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall. Ooh. Really? And there was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just between us, it's the first thing I noticed when I got inside. Ah, I see. Even though Lord Von Zieks claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall. Next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body. The accused, Baroque Von Zieks. That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper a cold, hard stare myself. Or let's pursue him, and after that, we can save.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich? There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am, just two slices with no middle. So I don't know what you would want with me. I think that maybe you just remembered something. Having heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean. What I think is we're all nothings, really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're just street sellers. That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich. When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside. That's it? Oh, you rotten beggar. I told you to keep that a secret. He screamed, he did. Screamed and scrambled off on all fours. That's all I wanted to say. Mr. Gossip, is that true? The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted my hand in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck. What? A pool of blood? But listen here. From when I was sprawled on the floor, I still kept giving the Reaper a cold, hard stare, and don't you forget it. Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood in your hand? I did, Happens to the best of us at times, doesn't it? So I was scared, so I slipped over. We can keep it just between us, can't we? No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony. Oh, if I must. The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once. Still got blood on my hands, so I quickly wiped it off on the floor. Well, what I'm thinking is we might have to present the board because we see a bloody handprint in the back. But we can do that next time. Alright, made some good progress here. This case, a lot of layers. A lot of layers. I look forward to peeling them all back.
We have 2 more in King series. The 2 more.
Like this, the rest of this case,
Mhm.
and the next case.
Okay.
So we'll see.